Well, hello everyone. This is Brian Berchtold again, and welcome to our wellness webinar today. We're delighted to be able to spend time with you, and what I so treasure in moments like this is being able to share not only information from the industry and Hubbub specifically, but from a user of wellness, and most importantly, someone who's making a difference in her employee population. I'll look forward to introducing Nicole in just a minute. So today we're going to talk about Make Healthy a Habit this year. And we have some agenda points, and I'm super excited to be able to share lessons learned from this past year and how we look at the new year to learn from the past and listen to our employees and find ways that we're making improvements to our overall wellness programs. Again, my name is Brian Berchtold. I'm with Hubbub Health, and I wanted to share with you an introduction into our featured speaker today, Nicole Colgan. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
And I think one of the things that we're super proud about is that Nicole has been a champion of wellness within her organization. Her company, of course, is Twin Star Credit Union. And maybe if you could just give a little introduction of what Twin Star is and some of your initial challenges, Nicole, because I know that throughout our session today we're going to draw from your experiences and lessons learned.
You bet. So we are a credit union. We're headquartered in Olympia, Washington, south of Seattle, and we've got 22 branches. We're spread out in Washington, and we've got some branches in Oregon, the state of Oregon, so we are pretty spread out. We have been fortunate enough to have a well-being budget, a well-being committee for a number of years here, and I think though we realized over the past year or so that we needed to make some changes culturally, and we just didn't feel we were making the impact that we'd hoped for. And of course, we'll speak a little bit later about the ongoing challenges that we have. But overall, I think we've found a good solution for our organization. And there's always room for improvement, but I feel like we're headed on the right path.
Well, thank you, Nicole. And as we set the stage for our time spent today, we had a few key points we wanted to cover, and that was sharing the 5 wellness lessons learned in 2014. And the unique thing about today's discussion is not only sharing it from our perspective as a partner with organizations at Hubbub Health's perspective, but most importantly from Nicole's perspective as someone who will call in the trenches, like many of you on the call, individuals from a day-to-day activity. And I'm going to encourage Nicole to open up and not only tell about the sugar-coated successes, which we typically hear on webinars of this nature, but really those more painful points of having to make decisions on how to be more trusting or open and maybe do things a little bit different than things had been done before. We're also going to go in and talk about the science of a habit, specifically talking about from those lessons learned, how can we further enhance and draw from science, evidence-based science and data to best encourage healthy habits within our employee population. And of course, it's coming up on the new year, so we have to encourage employees to take a personal assessment of their lives as well, and we want to set them up for success. One of the things we're going to talk about is most resolutions don't get met. They're unrealistic, and they are long and too cumbersome. So how can we help employees incorporate their own individual resolutions into your specific corporate wellness program? So with that, let's dive into those 5 lessons learned in 2014. Sorry, before I do, I've just had a few pop-up questions or comments here. I want to encourage people as we go through this session to go ahead on the right-hand side on the GoToMeeting control panel to submit questions. We're going to start gathering those. We've already had a number come in already, so we appreciate that for those of you who have taken that initiative. But please do that, and we are going to reserve the right amount of time, because really today's time together is less about us talking and more about sharing collectively those lessons learned and what we're doing to improve 2015. The 5 key things that from our perspective and collectively from Nicole's lessons learned were: wellness doesn't happen overnight. We need to be realistic about it. Wellness doesn't end at 5 p.m. Holistic is better. Incentive with small, frequent rewards, and listen to your employees. And so the first one there, of course, is wellness doesn't happen overnight. And I know, Nicole, you and I have talked about this numerous times of, we oftentimes think that we're going to implement a wellness program and we're going to see dramatic results right away. What we've found, and with the help of partners like Nicole and others, is that it really happens in phases or stages. And And what we wanted to do with this slide is really talk about how to set expectations, both for yourself as a wellness leader or a champion, but most importantly with other teammates or players within your organization, so that from your team's perspective and up into the management ranks and at the executive level, are people on the same page and are they looking to achieve those same things? And so what we see initially is that these intangibles, and we call it the water cooler chat. You hear whether people congregate at a water cooler or other areas within the organization, there are certain statements or small little habits that people are making, whether someone brought in a new recipe, someone's sharing about what they cooked at dinner, someone's talking about a workout they did, maybe certain individuals are talking about how everyone sees them have multiple Diet Cokes throughout the day, that they're making changes and filling their water bottle up more. And even to the fact of, we're seeing, and Nicole, I want to have you, a slide or two here, talk about how, people instead of bringing donuts in are actually bringing things relevant to when they went to the farmer's market or their own garden when it's in season and other things. And what I'm sharing with you on this slide right here is that first phase of which people see those intangibles. And these are exact quotes from participants on the Hub of Health platform of things that they were starting to experience, and they randomly submitted these, and we thought we would want to share them with you. That second phase, which we're going to get into, is more talking about the dollars and cents and a typical ROI. Nicole, from your perspective, this intangible thing, I know you guys have looked at that that was the first thing that your program was really having a pulse.
Right. And, we've just, as I mentioned earlier, it's about a change in culture and trying to change our employees' view of what wellness is. Because I think in the past it's been really focused around physical activity, and there's so much more to being healthy and and well-being. And so I think, the conversations are changing. We have a really competitive group of employees, and all the way from our senior management down. And I think it's helped because we are so spread out with about 350 employees, between 2 states. It's hard to get everybody together and really create that family feel. And I think that this is one way that we're able to get people to, into the different programs we're using, but the challenges through Hubbub that we've used really bring people together. And I think that's something we've really enjoyed, is it's really brought that competitive spirit between a vice president and, a teller or some, other positions. So I think it's just kind of changing our culture a little bit, but it also is kind of helping us to come together as an organization.
One of the other things I appreciated that you guys have done is that not only do you create challenges or activities and events for people individually to focus on, and they can do it with others, but you've participated in a number of team or created those and even company versus company challenges where you really developed that, quote, twin star esprit de corps, and people were in it less about because they wanted to personally lose 5 pounds or do something, but they wanted to, quote, help the team out. Right,
and we've had some challenges with some other local competitors or other credit unions, and that many of our employees have friends working at, or maybe they've previously worked there, and so there was a real drive to pull together and try to beat that group of employees in that challenge. So that was a really successful thing for us.
The other thing then, so as you guys saw some of that intangibles and people were participating in challenges or activities that different, we then started getting feedback from you about how, whilst you had good claims, maybe people were starting in that second phase or evolution of, what does wellness look like as it gets a return to the organization, of people making better habits, but better choices on utilizing their insurance programs. And maybe not only were they making better choices, there were slower or different types of utilization. An interesting point before, Nicole, I have you share, what we're getting feedback on a lot of is as organizations implement a wellness program, it's not that the claims go dramatically down or that activity with their policies. In fact, sometimes we even work with organizations where they see it to be au contraire. In fact, people are utilizing their healthcare provider more, but they're doing it focused on more healthy activities. They might go in for their preventative visit. They might start paying attention to issues so that they can get a lower back attended to so they can start working out or spending time. So I just wanted to share some feedback that we've gotten from other clients in addition to TwinStar, that it's not all about all of a sudden our claims go down. It's that there really are better choices that are ultimately going to lead to what we're feeling is potential cost savings. So you had that unique thing, Nicole, that you actually have good utilization and that your costs aren't soaring yet.
Right, but we're also realistic and know that that could change with one catastrophic event in an employee's life, or and healthcare is not getting cheaper. So, but what we've really struggled with is the cost for benefits that we provide to dependents, and so that's been a major focus for us, is to try to lower those costs. So I think it's really about trying to, as you mentioned, preventive visits. I mean, we're trying to build challenges around that. Have you done your preventive visit for the year? And just trying to encourage healthy behaviors that way. But I think it really, again, for us right now, it's not about the claims, but I think we definitely have to be realistic that we have a president who wants to make sure that we are making a difference in our employee base and eventually financially as well. We just aren't able to really come down to the dollars and cents at this point, but I think it's a morale issue. One of our core values is rewarding work environment, and so this is one that we really try to tout with our employees. Your well-being is important to us, and it's not just a financial decision. It's because we want employees who are engaged and productive and are making good choices, and we don't have complete control over that, obviously, but we're doing what we can to try to influence, again, that healthy behavior.
I so appreciate that statement. You mentioned a few key words that are swelling to my mind of, the CEO and the president are involved in this journey, that it's, quote, not just a program to decrease healthcare costs, that it's really about an opportunity that you're providing a benefit to the business. And for you guys, that's productivity, it's morale, it's for you, it's member or customer experiences, and finding different ways that, this is not just a wellness program that, quote, sits in the human resource closet, but this is a business solution for you folks.
Exactly.
Well, you talked about one of those things, Nicole, that you're trying to find ways that you can impact not just your employee healthcare decisions and behaviors, but really those beyond that. And I think that really goes to this lesson number 2, and that is wellness doesn't end at 5 p.m. And the thought there is that, if we're just thinking that wellness is Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and we're thinking that our corporate wellness program had an impact on folks through the weekend and after hours, that's where sometimes programs have fallen short. And so this idea that wellness is really 24/7, and to enable your corporate wellness program to find ways into your employees' homes, finding ways to engage friends and family of your employees. An employee goes home after a shift or after 5 o'clock. We're making choices relevant to what we're eating, whether we're going to walk the dog in the morning or at night. And I know one of the unique things that you folks at TwinStar have been able to do is figure out ways that you've created this concept of 24/7, and so what do people do around the clock, and how can our corporate wellness program influence that? The other thing, before Nicole shares some examples, that we know that when you allow a partner or a spouse into your corporate wellness program, it literally doubles that participation, not just from a numbers standpoint, but from what people are doing and how engaged in the program they are. And so one of the things from lesson number 2, wellness doesn't end at 5, to challenge us to be thinking about things that people can do, not just at the work site, not just at their desk, or not just on the factory floor, but what are we doing to encourage people to be active throughout their lives and in the day. And so, Nicole, I had a few examples. Some of these are directly from TwinStar, but that idea that we actually create a challenge, and this is one that exists on Hubbub, and it truly is one of the more popular ones, where we're giving people permission to get credit, quote, for a corporate wellness program by simply walking the dog. We find and we get stories and feedback that, that 10-minute walk in the morning or at the end of the day was the gateway to more behavior changes and activities. We also have created challenges of thought, and some of these, again, from you, Nicole, of that idea of home cooking. People get so busy, and I think you tell the story, and I'll let you tell it, of how people get so busy they just run to the market and grab something they haven't even thought about what they're feeding their family for dinner.
Yeah, exactly, and I am case in point. I've got 2 young kids and a husband who works as well, and so it's easy to pull something from the freezer, and obviously I'm always trying to incorporate more healthy meals, but I don't also want to be a short order cook, and at some point I have been where I make a meal for myself and my husband and then make something different for the children, and so I think I've realized I will be more successful in my wellness journey if I'm incorporating that into my entire family's lifestyle. And so I think you just see more success when you've got a partner, if you have a partner at home or children, that you get everybody on board. And again, you'll see some of these different types of challenges Hubbub offers, such as the roll, shake, spin, draw one, where it's just reprioritize my evenings, even though they're pretty rushed. That rather than flip on the TV, let's play a game. And so I think when you incorporate those people that are very important to you and that you spend a lot of time in your life with, it really makes you more successful.
Well, and not only does it make it successful, as you know, Nicole, and you've shared with us in your personal life, but the fact that your, quote, corporate wellness program is encouraging people to do things like focus on what you're cooking at dinner, and you're not thinking about how we're rewarding an employee to do 10 more emails before they rush out the door. Maybe take a few extra minutes and think about what's going to happen at the end of the day when you re-enter yourself as a, quote, employee into your family life. And whether it's things relevant to encouraging your employees to play a board game with your children when they get home, or something in the mingle category here, just bringing awareness to volunteerism. And I think you have some examples as we go through this, but how you, even at your corporate wellness program, are now having challenges relevant to your volunteer programs.
Right, exactly.
Well, and then just as an example of one other type of challenge that we at Hubbub encourage, and we're seeing now organizations introduce this into their work site, is this idea of the last time I. This is in a category of ours called the mingle category, but specifically it's the last time I did something that really I haven't done in 20 years, whether that's ride a skateboard, or for me it was interesting. A few weeks ago I was at a conference and I had 3-hour window, and they actually had some tennis courts. It was nice weather, and I went out and played tennis, hit balls against the wall. The first time I did that in 20 years. And I actually went home and went online and bought a new tennis racket. And so now, because of this particular challenge that I was in, it encouraged me to try something I hadn't done in a while. I'm back into playing tennis, something that hadn't happened in quite some time. So this is just a segue then into lesson number 3. But, again, those eating habits that you do, Nicole, we applaud that creativity of how you encourage people to really think about what they're eating when they go home.
Yeah, exactly.
So then let's talk about lesson number 3 that we've learned and we're sharing, is that holistic is better. When we started this call, Nicole shared her experience from their standpoint at Twin Star, that it's not all about physical activity, that wellness is in fact so many different other things. And not only is it not about just physical activity, but it's certainly not just about, quote, the Biggest Loser challenge. Or massive weight loss. And we bring this up specifically because we're looking into the new year. Probably the most common New Year's resolution is that I'm going to lose X amount of weight, and that if I don't lose it in a certain amount of time or do something, that I've, again, failed my resolutions. And so we're going to get into a dialogue to talk about not only is holistic better, but how to really help employees position or think about wellness relevant to their own lifestyles. I mean, people here might be thinking about, I'm going to look into the new year how I can cook more meals with my family, or finally take a yoga class, or eat something green, travel. And I think the most important thing that we're encouraging us to do as a collective community is to be thinking about how we can give greater flexibility for employees to think about wellness in so many different areas that maybe they haven't before. And what we can do then is create challenges around that, or activities around a more varied approach to focusing on wellness. And here's an example of, I know, some things that you're looking at. In fact, I think these are challenges that you have going on right now at TwinStar.
Right, yes. We are really excited about the different ones that we're trying to do. So specifically we've launched this month where actually they're all tied together. They've got to complete all 4 challenges. And it's really great because we've got a lot of participation, and we're really pleased with that because again, I'll speak to how we struggle with keeping participation up. But these are the things that this is a stressful time of year, and people are really wanting, it's a good reminder about the things that help us to stay sane during this crazy holiday season. And so we have created these 4 challenges, and if they complete all 4, they get their names put in for a drawing for 3 $100 gift cards to Amazon, which obviously helps and motivates people as well to participate. But again, these are just some of the things that people want to do, and this just kind of, with the incentive, kind of encourages them a little bit more to do it.
And again, what I so appreciate about this, and especially as we see it across the entire community of users of our particular product here at Hubbub, but where we're finding success in the wellness industry is, again, not just focusing on a physical activity, not just promoting, quote, the company walkathon or steps challenge, but really focus on things like you guys are doing here, sharing is caring, good reds and greens, and other things relevant to stress. You then talked about another topic, Nicole, which leads us into lesson number 4, incentivize with small and frequent rewards. One of the things that we've gotten feedback from many individuals that we're connecting with is that idea that I needed this huge budget, and it's got to be a lot of big dollar things to get people motivated. And really, it's all about the small things. And here's an example of something that we've done recently with a client on Hubbub, is that it's all about these small incentives and frequent ones. So based on my activities of doing certain challenges, getting to certain levels or achievements, I'm getting these small little incentives in the $5 and $7 and $10. And then what's interesting about that, to your point, Nicole, you then also have created a program where you do something where people can explain this program. You were just talking about it, but I get certain points or my name in a hat and I win bigger dollar items.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's what's great about this particular with Hubbub is you can be creative and think of things outside the box to still motivate people. But I have to tell you, these Amazon gift cards have really been a great thing because they just kind of hold on to them until they want to buy something large. And $5, you'd be amazed at how much that can motivate people because when you're really engaged, that adds up pretty quickly.
Just to clarify, I had a question come in, and I wanted to clarify that where we're talking about Amazon gift cards. So what Nicole's talking about is a program with Hubbub where gift cards are not physical, they're actually electronic, and based on either badges or activities being won, disbursements are made electronically in a secure fashion through the Hubbub platform directly to that employee. They then have an area where they can cache these gift cards and hang on to the 5 and the 7 and 10, and then they get to a certain point, they literally click a button and that goes right through to Amazon and they can spend that. And Nicole on her end at TwinStar as the employer has a record of all those activities, and so she knows exactly where disbursements were made, for how much, and who won that. So just want to make sure I clarified that for everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
And then lesson number 5 in our top 5, I kind of feel Letterman-esque, but in our top 5 lessons learned in 2014, it was the idea of listening to your employees. And that may be in an annual survey, but it's really ongoing, creating an environment that's open or trusting enough where people are free to even create their own challenges. One of the things that we've done at Hubbub here is challenges or activities can be created at many different levels. Nicole creates challenges. You saw that, how they were having her logo on them. But most importantly, then employees create challenges based on where they are intrinsically and where they want to focus on as an individual, and that individual is an employee of your organization, but also a family member or a member of a community. And one of the most popular ones recently, these were just taken off our challenge stream, sing in the car or the shower. So over 400 individuals participating in a very simple challenge that was built by an employee out there with a player name of MJT. And this one was in the balance category, so this holistic approach. And literally find a song or some tune or jingle that puts you in a good mood. And do that in the shower or the car before you get to work so that it sets you in the right way. And what we found is that by giving employees and empowering them to either choose things that are of interest to them, whether it's this complimenting someone or take time to read a book, a reminder to eat something healthy before you get going in the day. But specifically this one, sing in the car or the shower, was then the gateway, and we found this with so many participants, into other activities. So we're going to talk on a little bit about the science of a habit and finding ways that we can empower and provide a gateway for your employees to not just do kind of what we're going to call and what you've termed as an industry the one and done, where we want to find an easy way where we're going to invite people in, build their confidence, let them sing in the shower or the car, and gosh, if they brought a good mood into work, wouldn't that be a good thing? And then they're going to find other activities to focus on because maybe their friends or coworkers are also involved in those. So, Nicole, you've had some experience, and I know we had some other examples going down, but how you were empowering people to find things that were of interest to them.
Right, and I think honestly this is an area that we need to kind of sell with our employees too, is that they do have this ability to create challenges. But again, it's been very important that we have good representation on our committee because we don't always hear, we hear lots of things from employees, but not necessarily related to wellness sometimes. So I think they have to be our eyes and ears. But I think, again, this is just a good reminder for us, Brian, that that's a selling point that we need to kind of sell to our employees.
It's so like that comment. Here's Nicole from her standpoint as a human resource leader, and she's thinking of how do I communicate and sell this to my employees. And what I take from that, knowing the methods and how your team has done that, is how you've worked to build trust. And I think that T word, that trust, is really so important. If you look at your wellness programs, are we penalizing employees, or are we empowering and creating an environment where they trust us as business leaders to express and do things that are relevant to their lives that impact the quality of work that they do at the work site? So, and then as we transition our presentation, we just covered the top 5 lessons that we've learned, both from our standpoint at Hubbub and most importantly at Nicole's standpoint at Twin Star Credit Union, the idea of the science of the habit. What really is a habit? What are some of the mechanics around it, so that I as a business leader could think about how I'm using behavior design to influence greater healthy habits at the work site. There's a few common myths that we hear from our perspective that someone can only focus on one habit at a time. We're going to get them running, or they want to do this, or we're going to do something specific. And even, we paralyze ourselves often. Even that idea, it takes 21 days to create a new habit, that, as we know, is a myth. And we get that because whether it's doctors B.J. Fogg or others, they have shown, based on studies, that you don't need to perfect one habit before going to the next. And in fact, creating a habit can be relatively quick. There's a quote from Dr. Fogg at Stanford University that, a new habit starts in 1 second. And then it's all about creating the environment by which we're going to start small. We're going to do tiny little habits and things around that. We're going to find an anchor, and I'm going to go into a few examples of how we could potentially position activities so that we're setting them up ultimately for new habits. And then how do we empower our teams, but most importantly employees, to celebrate that success? Because it's all about that celebration and that feedback that people then are focused on taking that habit development to the next level. And so one of the examples that Dr. Fogg goes to is this whole idea of start small. So one of the ideas here that someone wanted to get in better shape or tone their body or strengthen their arms. Literally create a challenge or activity where you do one push-up. Not 50, not 100 a day, not 1,000 in a month, but the idea that I'm just going to do one push-up. And I'm going to do that one push-up relevant to another activity that I already have created a habit for. And for most of us, thankfully, it's brushing our teeth. And so what Dr. Fogg is proposing is that, if I'm trying to do something new, do it in conjunction with something that I've already developed that habit or that's not new. So maybe whilst I'm brushing my teeth or after I brush my teeth, I'm going to do one push-up. And I'm going to do that for a week, and then I might up it to 2. And then most importantly, reward yourself immediately after that. And what Dr. Fogg's saying is that it's not all about I'm going to go out and, to the extreme example of buy a new outfit or a car because I did one push-up. I'm going to give myself a smile or pat myself on the back, or potentially check in or socially post that for 7 weeks I've done one push-up. And so again, going back to that behavior design mentality, we're going to pick something small, super small. So think about that when we're doing and recommending changes within our employee populations. We're not radically trying to change their behaviors. We're giving them small little things that are going to create a successful pathway. And as an example, one of the things that, Nicole, I'll have you talk about is just that idea that we were talking about earlier of home cooking, and then how you took that to the next level, or how you're looking to do that in 15.
Right, and again, it's trying to find those challenges that are going to appeal to employees and that they feel that they can do. And many of us know we need to exercise, or we should meditate, or we should spend more time with our kids rather than looking at our phones. And so it's just, this is a way to really get people to kind of push them to do these things that they know and that they want to do. And so, I think the home cooking, that's one that, it's easy for us to get things and pop them in the freezer, but how can I be more healthy? How can I provide better meals for my children? And so, again, it's really, we are very fortunate to have a great committee and with a lot of creativity, and we're really trying to target things that are going to appeal to our employees.
Even from my own personal experience, and I've had the pleasure of sharing that with many of you, either on this call or that are listening at other times. When I 4 years or 3.5 years ago, I was 45 pounds overweight, and on 7 medications with 4 risk factors. The idea of losing 45 pounds or starting to run a 5K, those were mountains. But the idea that I could, eat something orange, literally bring an orange to work every day, put it on my desk, and at 10 o'clock, that was my little snack. That again became my gateway into other things. And you guys at Twin Star certainly mastered that, of introducing small little things and then building upon that. I think that's one of the key things as we look at how do we take this behavior design science, think about activities that we're doing and introducing to our employee populations, and not trying to radically change things overnight, but being realistic about what that could potentially look like. And that ties directly into, New Year's is coming up. People are already probably stressing out and thinking about what they're going to do to radically transform their bodies or their weight or their life. And all of a sudden, I'm not going to go to Starbucks anymore because I'm going to take that $4 and do something different. We, again, are proposing that, we be realistic about that. We provide an environment where we encourage small little things in a variety of different activities and empower our employees to own those activities. And so maybe it's not the company's idea of what we think, quote, your resolution should be as an employee, but we let them create their own. And most importantly, we are mindful of the fact that people come to work to really support their family. So how are we allowing employees to think about that or engage them in those activities as well? And this whole idea of holiday detox, people are celebrating their respective holidays based on faith or based on community. And whatever that may be, we see a common theme here in the wellness industry, and particularly here at Hub Up Health, is that people then think that all of a sudden I'm going to create a 6-week program and I'm going to detox and radically change my life, and no more alcohol, no more treats, no more whatever. And that's just, as we know, unrealistic. And so the idea, again, focus on small activities, little things, whether it's walking into the new year, taking the steps, focusing on a little bit more water, as Nicole talked about, family game night, creating a mix of different activities that people could do that is then ultimately going to be the gateway to transition into other things. Nicole, you're already kind of setting up different activities, but here's an example of things that we are going to be introducing into our Hubbub population, and we're working with others to create a steps challenge or a stair challenge specific around starting to get moving. Clear the clutter. I mean, so much stuff happens not so much at people's desk, but that was one of our ideas, that there's a year of clutter that's accumulated. Create a challenge around clearing that clutter so people can start the year new. And even that idea coming into the new year of starting to bring your own lunch, being more focused on and mindful of what we're putting into our bodies through the day. And that ultimate thing of those of us that have pets, walk your dog in the morning before you come into the office. So any thoughts on those New Year's resolution thoughts or challenges, Nicole?
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to be creative about going into January. And we don't want to overload people because everybody's overwhelmed with, I should be doing this, the New Year's resolutions. So we're trying to be creative with the challenges that we're creating, especially for January. We want to kind of get them, and again, we're trying to encourage more participation and increase our participation levels. But so you don't want to overload people with too many challenges. But again, the incentives definitely don't hurt, and we are really going to try to re-energize our staff for the new year and get them more engaged.
Well, thank you, Nicole, and we are coming up on the hour where we're going to start opening the lines, and our go-to portal here are the control panel to questions. I see a number of them already submitted. In a few minutes here, Laura is going to take time to pose those to us. Again, I encourage these to be less, about Hubbub and really about what you specifically are doing with your teams. And here we have this great resource, Nicole, who's been so kind to share not just the good, but her challenges, and most definitely around these 5 lessons learned in 2014 around a wellness solution. And that being, of course, that wellness doesn't happen overnight, that we need to set realistic expectations, but there are things that we can look for. We can see those intangibles. We can see certain behavior changes. We'll see potentially ways that people are using their healthcare services differently. And then over time, as we evolve in that program, and it can take 2 to 3 years, I think that's a realistic data point, that we're going to start seeing some significant changes that have been cost savings or business improvement. I think that was one of the key things that I take away from Nicole's discussion, is that wellness is not just, quote, wellness and a human resource initiative, but it's a business solution. And the best way to capitalize on results is to think that wellness is 24/7. It doesn't end at 5 p.m. And we need to find ways that we're creating an environment where a larger employee population feels comfortable to participate, and that certainly is through creating holistic or more mindful challenges. And that idea of incentives, small and frequent, but also the idea of lottery challenges or lottery winnings, where one name out of the participants is drawn, or 3 are drawn to win a $25, $50, or $100 gift card. And certainly going into the new year, listening to our employees. They know their lives, they know what they want to focus on, and they're working together amongst teams or individually and finding ways that we can harness those creative ideas to get the results that we're looking for. And I know we kind of just talked on this a little bit, Nicole, but what I was accentuating for the group is that your goal going into 2015, again, is less about the Biggest Loser challenge, and it's certainly not an employee, walkathon, but it's really meditation and some of those other things that are focused on bringing kind of a center back to people before they begin the year and starting the year off focused on their own individual goals.
Exactly. I mean, there's just so much more than just starting your gym membership and committing to going and working out. It's, we've got a lot of employees that have to sit throughout the day, and so it's just encouraging on your break, go out for a 10-minute walk, or just it's baby steps. Again, you have to start out small because otherwise people are just like, whoa, this is too much. I can't commit to this. And so that's why these challenges are so nice, because there's so many different categories that people, oh, I can do that. I need to drink more water. I could do that challenge. So it's just the baby steps, I think, are really important.
Baby steps, tiny habits predicated on behavior design. There's easy ways that we can draw from others to get examples of things that we're trying to introduce to our work sites and workforce and teams. And so with that, I'd like to open our time up for questions and comments. And again, please take advantage of the fact that we have such a super wellness champion sharing thoughts and ideas. So Laura, do you have some questions that have been coming in?
Yes, I do. One of the first ones that came in is, how do you work with companies that are smaller and don't have large incentive budgets? You know, what other things can help enhance that experience and reward employees for doing well in a wellness program?
So I'll talk maybe from Hubbub's perspective, Nicole, and then I want you to, from your perspective, you know, again, it's not about big dollar items, and it's about small little things. And it's finding ways that $3 or $7 gift card could mean something. But it's also about creating an opportunity where success is going to be recognized. People want to feel that they're contributing, but most importantly, they want to be recognized. And finding ways that small little things that people are doing, little habit changes, or, you know, on our platform, we're able to create a challenge and be able to say it's not about running a marathon, it's about standing up and literally standing up every other hour or every hour. And that is a small way to recognize that progress and to socially in the right environment to recognize people's progress. Nicole, do you have thoughts on people or individuals and organizations with small budgets and maybe how you grew into being able to have a larger incentive budget that you have?
Yeah, I mean, many of you, if you don't have a wellness program, obviously you can't just say, hey, I need $15,000 for a wellness program, CFO. There's got to be some facts behind it, right? And you've got to also you've got to be able to convince them. So again, I think it's the starting small and just because if wellness is not in your culture, I think it's starting that conversation. And you just have to be a little bit more creative on how you can encourage people. You know, it doesn't have to be a $15,000 budget, but you know, people will get motivated to go into a drawing for a $50 gift card, or you know, a great parking spot at their branch or their department or at their office. So you can just kind of, you know, the recognition piece. And then as you build that culture, and I think it becomes something that you start to see change, then I think it's easier to go and request more money. Because obviously you can do more and incentivize more, and with products such as Hubbub that are worth every penny, because obviously we've got a younger population in our organization, and so gamification is really becoming the thing. So this is a way that, you know, because everybody is glued to their computer, their phone, their iPads, and this is a way to really capture that audience, I believe. But again, you've got to start small. You can't expect to just get that big check written right at the beginning. So it's getting creative. I really encourage, if you have the luxury of creating a committee, because by no means would I be able to do this all on my own. And we've got great chairs and vice president support and just employees who are so much more creative than I am on how we can really get our employees engaged.
That's great. Thanks, Nicole. Laura, other questions?
As a follow-up to that one, we've had a couple people, Nicole, who are curious about your wellness committee, a little bit about the structure of that and how many people you have on your committee in comparison to the size of your organization.
Sure. So we have, again, around 350 employees. We have a vice president who is kind of our senior management support. And then we've got a chair and a co-chair, which are at different levels in our organization. And then, you know, it's kind of fluctuated in size because some people are really excited about it and join, and then find that it's more of a time commitment than they're able to give, which is okay. And we fortunately have some really dedicated people that have been on the committee for quite some time. But then again, there's always turnover. So overall, I think we've got about, right now we're about probably 10 people, but that again, not 10 attend every meeting every month or are able to. And so we just do with what we can. I mean, we'd obviously like more, but we've also got to be aware of people's time commitments and how much this time requires.
Great, thanks, Nicole. We have another follow-up to that as well. There's a couple people who'd like to know how you approached participation at your organization, what kind of struggles you had getting people interested in a wellness program when you first started doing wellness, and some of the ways that you overcame those struggles, especially with people who maybe in poor health and are already not interested from the start.
Right. And we have those people that are not going to put anything online. They believe, they won't take that health assessment because they believe that you're using that information to then increase their rates. So, we definitely have those people that are not interested, but one of the reasons we went with Hubbub is because, again, it gives you smaller challenges that are doable. It's not just what have you done physically? Can you take 10 minutes on your break and meditate, or take a yoga class, or again, play games with your kids at night. So it appeals to a wider audience than I think we've had in the past with our well-being program. But again, it's not all rosy. We definitely were very strong when we first launched this. We had a really high participation rate, but then, that ebbs and flows, and people, are gung-ho, and then life happens. So you have to be realistic that your engagement is going to fluctuate. And that's why it's important to have a committee, because we've realized we've got to be pushing challenges and offering new challenges to remind people, oh yeah, here's Hubbub. And so I think that's something that we, when the summertime hit, we definitely, people are on vacations and they're not, as engaged. And then we kind of have the holidays and fall and school starting, and so now we're just taking that opportunity for the first of the year to really try to boost our engagement. But again, you have to be realistic. You're not going to get everybody on board, and there are those that you will never get engaged. And we haven't gone the direction of the hammer yet, with where you can tie your premium cost to whether you participate, or what you do if you participate in a non-smoking program or what have you. But we haven't taken that approach yet. We're right now kind of using the carrot approach, and I anticipate that's probably the direction we're going to continue to head.
Well, if I can just interject there, because I think one of the things that you talk about that makes such a difference is that you have leadership at different levels, all the way up to the president of the organization, that this is part of, their daily checklist. There are things that they're asking their executive committee on a weekly, monthly basis. How is our program? How's engagement? What are we doing? Because I think you, Nicole, have done such a good job with your team of being able to articulate realistic expectations, that it's a long-term journey, and I think you guys do a really good job of reminding the executive team why they're doing it. Remember, we embarked upon this because we wanted to improve morale, and slowly we're going to see productivity, and eventually it might happen with claims and our medical costs go down, but this is why we're doing that. And I think that's a big thing that we're seeing with groups that are super successful like you, is that it's ongoing sales communication with your executive leadership, because as we know, they get super busy, they're focused on different things at different times, and for you to be able to just take a quick level set of, remember why we're doing this. So I applaud you in how you go about communicating that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to take credit for where we're at. We've got an amazing well-being team, and without them, it wouldn't be what it is.
So we have a few more minutes. I want to be sensitive to people's time. We will end exactly on the top of the hour. Laura, I believe that we're going to be making the presentation both from a slideshow as well as the audio available. Do you want to just talk about that as we're getting ready to have the next question?
Yes, we have recorded the webinar, so we'll make it available next week in form of an email and send some additional supporting information out to people who'd like to see that.
Excellent. And so maybe just a few more questions.
Okay. So we have another question here. It says, how do you answer the excuse of I need to work, but I don't have time to do the exercises here? How do you get people to participate when they would rather focus on just their work?
Right. Well, we have, and I'll speak from our experience, that we have, for example, we have a call center where our members call in, and we struggle with employees will surf the internet while they're talking to a member, and so obviously that distraction comes across in that phone call. And so we really had to kind of, because Hubbub is online, people can have it on their phones, their iPads, with their apps, but so we actually had to kind of say, well, if we're going to encourage this, we need to allow them to do this on work time, as long as it's not interfering with their performance and our ability to serve our members. So we actually, because we have that population that are attached to phones and computers and iPads, and so we needed to kind of be lenient and just know that that was going to be something we have to allow. And so I think that makes it a little bit easier for employees. And we have a lot of employees that they need a break. They need a little distraction here and there. And so if that means checking on your phone and checking in for your Hubbub challenge, then so be it. That's great. So we've kind of had to be conscious that that's something we have to know is going to happen and that we need to allow in order for this to be successful.
I think if I can interject there too, Laura, one of the other things that we're seeing with organizations across the country is that those organizations that give their employees permission and encourage them to participate at work, and that comes from the top. Again, Nicole engaging leadership at the president level and saying, why aren't you standing up? You've been sitting for an hour. And we have a challenge that we're hosting that, within every hour you have to at least stand up once from your desk. And different things or activities that also are related to what they're doing during the day. So going back to the science of habits, finding little things that people are already doing and then making that part of the day, such as one of the challenges I know you've done, Nicole, in the past is compliment a coworker. And all of a sudden you almost changed in that week the culture of that certain team by the challenge that they could get credit for or potentially win an Amazon gift card was all about making certain you can compliment at least one worker during the day. So small little things that are supported by the leadership of the organization.
Exactly.
Okay, it looks like we have time for one more question. This question is addressing starting a wellness program. So for an organization, large or small, that doesn't have a program currently, how do you get started? What's your first step? Where's the best place to start?
I'll let you take that, Nicole.
Okay. Well, I wasn't here at the time we started our wellness program, but I can tell you just in the multiple conversations I have with colleagues and knowing a little history on ours is, again, it has to start small, and I think it's starting that conversation, but it's really important that you have the commitment and at the top, and they've got to really support it and help drive it, because an email from myself as the Director of Human Resources versus an email coming from our President really encouraging people to take care of themselves or try Hubbub, and it has more impact. So I think it's important that you get the buy-in, obviously, at the top about how, and it's not just a financial reason to do so. It's a morale. It's to show that you care about your employees, but you've got to have a commitment. And again, I think it's critical that you have a committee that is able to support the goals that you establish for your organization. So I think that's imperative, that you start with the senior management support, and that you've got a really strong leader for your wellness and champion for your well-being team. And we have found that that's important to have a really committed team, because if it falls on the shoulders of one person who has a job and family and all that, it doesn't seem to happen. And I don't know many organizations that have enough financially to support an FTE that is simply focused on well-being. So I think you really have to. Those are some really important pieces you've got to have in place.
And I so appreciate that. And a few of the other key things is, executive leadership committee that's going to be as a team and participating and running that. Realistic expectations, and I think one of the things too is that from lesson number 1 that we talked about, learned in 2014, is that it doesn't happen overnight, but there are certain things that we're going to see initially, and being able to set those realistic expectations going into a commitment. And I think the other thing that you've helped clarify, Nicole, is that it's not a lot of money initially, and there are some small things that we can do. So,
right.
Well, with that, we are exactly at the top of the hour. Thank you, everyone who has devoted time and a commitment to improving employee lives through better, healthy habits. And most importantly, Nicole, thank you once again for sharing your wellness wisdoms and lessons learned with our group.
You bet. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. And everyone, happy holidays and a happy new year. And we'll look forward to working and chatting with you in the future. Again, thank you, everyone.